on computer. There you go. So I have it recording on Zoom just so that we don't like miss anything or mess up.
Ah, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
that.
backups and all that protection stuff that Tana doesn't have. Sorry. Carry on.
It's just beautiful. I have never thought I'd hear the day where you complained about backups.
So it's not
We have
complaint.
gone full circle. For people who have, I don't know how many people who have joined us at this time who know the history, but he was so averse to backup.
I was never averse to backups. I just never understood why you needed them because as a Notion user and as someone that still to this day has never needed a backup, like the only sort of backup I need is a version history of something, which is always in trash. Or in Obsidian's case, version history trash. So I've never needed backups because it's all pretty safe. But it's one of those things that I know a lot of people like about Obsidian. And in my video that's coming out in what's the time? 10. So it's coming out in an hour on my YouTube channel. Where it's Blue Danny versus Orange Danny, and I'm going to bring back that so much because it's just fun to record when you have the mic working. I don't know whether you saw my Twitter thing, but oh my god, that was so painful. The realization, when I watched that clip back, I was like, you can see the things going in my head where it's like, I don't have the right mic on. I'm going to have to re-record. Oh my, yeah, and then I saw the camera. But yeah, Tana doesn't have a lot of things Obsidian has. But Tana is literally the app of the moment. You put Tana in a tweet, it explodes.
I want to understand it, which is what I tried to do on Twitter, but I didn't get anywhere.
It's the Rome cult that have just turned into Tana.
Like, I didn't actually get anything. It looks pretty, okay. Obsidian CSS.
You don't even need it with the new default theme.
I mean, it looks sexy anyway. I've been exploring other themes recently, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. I like the default theme. It's nice. It does what I want it to do. I don't need anything else.
Yep.
I quite like TFT hackers. Like, wait, is it his or is it what he shared? Sorry, they shared. I don't know. Wait, whatever.
Pronouns.
They shared where they literally wiped everything. It's completely minimal, which I was like, oh, that's nice.
There's a few themes like that. Obviously I did the theme video where I went through all of the themes, and now like 95% of them are broken. Someone commented, "Can you do an updated version of the video with all the new themes?" I'm like, no. Most of them are broken, and there'd be no point.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But I liked that. I think it's like specifically for people who use keyboards all the time. They just get rid of all of the sidebars, and I'm like, that's kind of cool and useful. But
yeah,
I like it just in case.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because I use my phone as well, the ribbon on my phone. So this is something that I actually used the other day. So I told you, I told you about this. Oh, I have to fiddle with something. You know that.
I know. So do I.
Yeah, it's an instruction to a chord. Football last week there was a bit of a rough and tumble. There was a fight basically at the end of the game. A woman, a supporter, mum, parent, I think, of one of the other players came on and slapped one of our players, and there was like words thrown, racism, blah blah blah. Yeah, loads of stuff happened. Done reports and police involved, etc. It's exciting stuff. How Obsidian comes into this is exciting, right? So, yeah, I know, big old fight. So obviously, I was writing down what happened on Obsidian on my daily notes page.
Of course.
Yeah. So I had all the real quick notes. I had the statements. I had the numbers of the players that were involved. I had the descriptions. I also managed to send like all the players got statements in like the day of or the day after. But the woman came over to our group, like our side of the pitch, our group, and Obsidian has audio recorder. So I just clicked bottom right, audio recorder, and then it went straight into my recorder on my phone. So I recorded what she shouted at us. And that's literally a perfect application of the Obsidian voice recorder. Like, it couldn't have been any better.
And this is the thing.
and it's quick. It was on my device. I got home and it's synced.
Yeah. This is the thing. This is what is like frustrating me about the current like environment. It's like Tana is supposed to be this amazing thing. I haven't got access to it, and I still don't get it. Beyond the it's like Notion, but
it's not.
But it's not. Like, if I want to use Notion, I'll use Notion.
So I have access to Tana, and my video that comes out later goes. It's not a roast of Tana, but it's certainly not in support of Tana. And there are points in there that I make, and it's one of those things where I'm sitting here like, I want to be nice, but it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that. And when I was writing out the script for the video, because I was talking backwards and forwards, I actually had to try to say something different from not yet. Because, like, I would say something, Obsidian has this. Does Tana have it? Not yet. Not yet. And it would literally just be like 15 of me just saying not yet. And that's just boring. So I had to change my script. I
would have had a little counter in the bottom.
That's one of the things I was thinking about. I was like, it's literally just the same thing over and over. I mean, the moral of the video, it's coming out later, so no one's going to listen to this before the video. But the moral of the video is Tana is an app in development. It's not an app yet. Comparing it to something like Rome, Notion, Obsidian is silly. Like, there is no benefit to it.
What was Obsidian? I don't know how early in the process you were in Obsidian.
Quite.
So my question is, would you, especially you didn't, you had Notion first, and then what was it because was it because Obsidian became an app that was usable? What made you switch? Was it just you learning the app?
It wasn't learning the app. I learned loads of apps, Tana being the most recent.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because you did that during that time. You were on a hunt for loads of different apps. You went through loads, and I'm super intrigued. Like, why isn't Tana ready? Because Obsidian has, strictly speaking, only just launched.
Yeah.
So what's different?
I was and still am a very heavy desktop user. The initial exploration of Obsidian was the graph view. I'd looked at Rome 2 weeks beforehand, and the graph view sucked. And people said that the smiley face.
Still love that to this day.
Yeah, for those that are unfamiliar, I made a smiley face with the graph view in Rome because it was such a pointless graph view. So I made it into a smiley face. And then it defaulted back to the stupid grid thing after I left the page. It was anyway.
You ruined my smiley face.
Exactly. But yeah, so Obsidian, I went in there because people were saying that it's got a better graph, and I don't use the graph. I'm just going to be frank. I don't use it. I used to use the global graph, and then I used the local graph, and then my vault just got too big that it just wasn't beneficial, and I don't need it because the outline plugin does what I was using the global graph to do. So the default app basically meant that the graph was redundant. Is it still nice to look at? Yes. Do I use it? No. But the other features
the only time I ever use it is just like when a new person comes in and I'm like, I have an app that connects all my notes. I go, look at this, and they're like, ooh, that looks so pretty. Oh, what are all these things? That's the only reason why I do it.
They've added a feature in Obsidian where you can screenshot your graph.
Of course they did. They should have. That's like, come on.
But in the app, it's a right click, take screenshot.
Love it. I love the little video of it populating.
The animation, yeah. Well, I can't do that. I've got 5,500 notes. It takes 10 minutes to get through it.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's fun.
I also made a realization, which I'll go through later. But the stuff that drew me to Obsidian originally was the graph view. Then when I got used to how the daily note thing worked, it's like, actually I could sort of use this. But the main thing was just linking backwards and forwards between pages, because inside of Notion, a page is a page, and you have to put an actual link thing there. Like you have to create a page and then put the page in the thing, and it was just a pain to have to add the properties in the page, or have to use a database view to add a page with the properties. And in Obsidian, I didn't need properties. I didn't need anything. It was literally just, here's a page, write stuff. I didn't start using, I guess you could say, property information in Obsidian until like 4 or 5 months ago, really. I had the stuff there, but I didn't really use it. Like I had last updated, modified, but it was just there for the sake
because
of it.
it was there. Yeah. I'm going through removing all of that now because I'm just like, I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, so I had, so a month before I helped you out with your declutter, I decluttered my vault, and my vault was like 7,000 notes. It's now much less because I've got rid of a lot of notes that I didn't need. They were just there because I had got rid of them. And that is why I love Obsidian. It was an absolute mess. But when I was working, I knew exactly where everything was within seconds, like milliseconds. But if you actually look behind the hood, it was chaos. It was a mess. And now I've organized it in a way that essentially I decluttered it. I wouldn't say I've organized it. I've decluttered it. So I've got rid of the notes that were empty notes because I just didn't have anything in there, or I got rid of tags that weren't really being used. I've actually added a couple of tags as well. And my vault now, I'm going through creating my course, my Obsidian course. Well, I'm revamping the course, and I was going through some of the old Notion videos that went like viral at the time, like August Bradley's PPV and Marie Paulin's Notion mastery. I was going through their videos, and I'm sitting there like, I have all of this in Obsidian, and I don't have any of the issues they had at this point. Obviously, those videos are like 2 years old now. But I have all of this in Obsidian, and even some of the advanced stuff that Marie's doing in her course, like bringing in tally forms, I can do in Obsidian because Obsidian is just an export. Or instead, I could export it instead of to Notion and then be limited by the database, export it to Excel, and then just have the Excel file in the Obsidian vault. So I have all the powers of Excel without the limitations of Notion with a tally form. And I'm like, I can do all of that stuff inside of Obsidian. Why do I need to go elsewhere?
Yeah, I wanna go back to your quick capture thing of like the daily notes.
Yeah.
I did not get the hype of daily notes, and I realized just then why. And I think it was the way that you use daily notes really changed it for me. Like, daily notes is a dumping ground. That's all it is. And often when you look online, you look at Rome users and other Obsidian, it's like, have these questions, have these prompts, have these things. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. Like, that just it was too much of a system. And I think what made me switch, it was the realization that every page can just be a fucking page, and it doesn't have to be special, doesn't have to be this. And it's the daily journal pages thing for me. It's literally, I don't have to think. I had 2 ideas as you were talking, and what did I do? I literally just pressed one shortcut and started writing them down because I can. Whereas in Notion, I had to open up Notion, wait for it to load. And then I had to find where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it on my home page to put the notes. Yeah, but I don't like that because then I'll forget. Like, there was so much friction. Whereas in Obsidian, I'm like, okay, press the button, Command Shift Y, done.
And the next day, and the best thing, the next day, it's gone.
Yeah,
to see it.
And that's something that I really like about the Arc browser as well. It does a similar thing where literally the next day your tabs are closed, which is great, but you still have history. And you can pin tabs so that they don't close if you have something that's really important. But this kind of leads on. Also, just side note, Kindle plugin absolutely rocks. I love it. Sorry, Readwise, you're gone.
Yep.
I uninstalled the Readwise plugin. I was like, right, done. All right, I got what I needed. The one thing I needed was my Kindle notes to come in and to sync properly and nicely. And I have, whether I like the block references, is still to be desired. Where is it? Block references? I don't know what's
block
called.
IDs. Yeah,
block IDs. Whether it automatically creates block IDs, I kind of like, but also don't.
It's
I'm also
part of the
playing
functionality.
with, like, with using the page itself. So before with my Readwise, I had the Readwise set page and a separate page for my own notes. And what I'm trying and seeing whether I like is to just have one note where, because I have all of the summary pieces and my own kind of thoughts up at the top, and then at the bottom it syncs all of the pieces, so it kind of becomes a bit of a hybrid note, which I'm I'm not 100% sure on yet. I'm still playing and testing and trying it out, because one thing that I realized is if I have to make a decision, I'm not going to make it. My default is to not decide. I will walk away because I have too many other things that I've got to think about. And so I'm wondering, oh, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? And that's what happened with Notion for me. I had to make too many decisions all of the time. I have enough decisions to make in my life. I have enough decisions I have to make every single day. I don't want to make more decisions. I just want to be able to come in, do my work, do what I want to do, capture my ideas, because if you don't capture the ideas, you'll have less of them. Like that is my experience. If you don't capture them, you don't have them.
So I've said this a few times in my video journal, but when I go to put my head down at night, my brain suddenly goes, "Hey, let's think of all the ideas you didn't think of during the day because you were doing stuff." And my phone is the closest thing to me. The brightness goes all the way down at like midnight anyway on my phone, so it doesn't really impact that much. And Obsidian on the phone is really good. And because I have a quick add, I push the tick button. So like in my head last night, I was thinking about Blue Danny versus Orange Danny. I was thinking no code users in Obsidian. Like I had this conversation going in my head and I was like, this is really cool. I'm going to put that down. And I did. And as I put it down, I was like, that can be a line, because no code users, all they want to do is pick their phone up, push a button, type stuff in, push a button, then leave. They don't want to have to fuff around with anything else. They don't want to have to worry, I need to load this page. Do I need to load this page so it uses what, so it works offline? Or do I need to go through that database link? Do I need to create it through this view? No options. No, push button, type, push button. And you don't even need the second push if you don't want it.
And this is where, like, when we were talking on Twitter about like tools for thought, and the assumption I made was that Obsidian was a tools for thought, which I have other things about that, which I'd put that in a box. But the thing is about Obsidian is I keep hearing others say that Obsidian can't be used by the general population. And I think that's an absolute load of shit, especially with the buttons plugin. Like my secret hope is that I convert every business owner into Obsidian because it works. I see every single day when I talk to people, I struggle with capturing ideas. Like I'm always overthinking everything. I'm like, Obsidian. Like, because for me, those were problems I had with apps that I used. Now Notion is so popular, everyone's using them. Everyone's using it. And which is great in some ways because it's allowing people to discover the way that they work a little bit more because they have no choice. But it also unlocks, like, Obsidian can be as simple as Notion, not simple as Notion, sorry, as simple as Asana and Trello, because you've got the Kanban plugin, or it could be as complicated as Notion.
It could be far more complicated than Notion.
And far more better. Like I'm about to start doing some D&D stuff, and I went down the D&D rabbit hole. No, you can wait. I haven't finished. Write it in your journal, boy. Write it in your daily note. I dived into the like tabletop RPG section of Obsidian, and I'm like, oh, I might need a new vault. Because I'm just looking at that, because that's something that I'm diving into more, to have some form of a social life, whatever that is. And so I started exploring, like, oh, how can I combine things that I find fun? And I'm just like, oh, these are they and I think I can't remember her name.
Leah?
I can't remember.
Was it yellow?
No, it was red, like a bright reddish.
Nicole.
Yes. And I saw Nicole's like thing first, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they were the one who put me onto the buttons, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. You press that button to do that. And I'm just like, my brain suddenly went, this is what Obsidian misses for business owners. I think it's that
So the point I was going to make is the problem with Obsidian is the user base are coders, developers, programmers, and people that are hobbyists in note taking. Like, you still have the early adopters of Obsidian in there, and not many of them apply it to life, like simple life. And the complexity of Obsidian, which is the other point that I had, is so bear with me if you're not an Obsidian user. I had a custom script, JavaScript script inside of my Obsidian, and I was using that inside of Templater, and I was attaching that to a button inside of my Obsidian page. And what it did was, when I pushed the button, it looked at the date on the page in the front matter, which was automatically created via the plugin, the full calendar plugin. It looked at the dates and went, oh, okay, the first task, the scripting task, is going to be 4 days before the due date. The record 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. And because it's a button, I had a script. I can push the button to refresh those tasks if the due date changes. So essentially, it's the click up moving the task thing just with the push of a button. I've since made it simpler so I don't need JavaScript and things. But now I have a button to refresh the due dates of the task. And because you've got reminders inside of Obsidian, the reminder is automatically created as well with the script. So I have a reminder that pops up in my face for the task when it's due. I have the due date, so it appears in my daily note when it's due. And all I need to do is push a button and it figures it out for me. Notion can't do any of that. I had to finagle like 3 databases, 7 roll-ups, a couple of relationships, and tons of formulas to get anything like that. I mean, you remember me figuring that out. It took me like a month and a half to get it working. Then it worked. So I was like, yes. And then there were still bugs. And I was like, I can't be asked anymore.
Yeah.
I did that in 3 hours in Obsidian.
Wow. We're going to have chats after that one.
That's what I mean by it can be as complicated as you want with the setup. But when you actually do it, like now, all I do is click.
And that is the thing that I think is so powerful with Obsidian, is that, yes, there is a setup process, but once it is set up and it suits the way that you like, the effort it takes to set something up that fits your brain is worth it, because then you're just like, oh yeah, cool, done. Oh yeah, done. Oh yeah, done. Oh yeah, done. It's super stupid simple, and it doesn't require anything. Like, once you've got it done, it is just, and like, as I'm now exploring more of Obsidian, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what if I could do this. Like, I don't think I've ever found something I can't do yet. Trust
me, I've tried.
Like, I'm just like, oh, can I do this? Yes. Can I put my podcast in here? Yes. Can I do this? Yes. Can I now I have Kindle directly coming in. I'm just like, right. Now what? Bring it. Like, I am Zotero automatically brought in. This, that, and then I think it was last episode, you told me about the automatic
text generator.
The text generator. And I'm just like, wait, what? I can do that in there as well.
Bring AI writing into
what can't I do? Like, can it stop?
So this is where I'm at. Obviously, I've explored a few more plugins than yourself. If you're interested, all of the videos are on YouTube, of course. But
that is an understatement.
I've only got 20 so far, so it's like 85 less than Notion. I'm working on it, okay? But this is where I'm at, okay? I found Pipedrive. Pipedrive? Yeah, Pipedrive. It's like a green background with a white P is the logo. And the reason I came across them is Thomas Frank was using them with the Notion API. And he's using Pipedrive to bring certain triggers in. I had a very brief look yesterday, and Pipedrive, because it's just an API, works directly with Obsidian's API, which means any Pipedrive trigger, which goes to Discord, Twitter, etc., can be put into Obsidian. How that works both ways, I'm not sure, but it means I could trigger, this is theory, I could trigger something in Obsidian to create a tweet that goes out via Pipedrive. So I could tweet from my local Obsidian. Or I could bring in information from things like ConvertKit.
Pipedrive is a CRM thing.
Okay, Pipe Dream then. I can't remember exactly the name of it. It is.
Yeah, so connect APIs. Oh yeah, Pipe Dream. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was Pipe Dream.
I've seen that and it's amazing.
Yeah. So that's what I want to explore. But as soon as you have that, because the API in Obsidian is pretty stable now, as soon as you have some connections going in and out, you could bring ConvertKit in, you could bring Taliforms in, you could connect it with Discord. So you can have Discord messages go in and out. You could bring in data, you could push out data potentially as well. Like Obsidian could be, I don't want to say it, but an app that does a lot.
There's an API.
Are you talking Obsidian?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always been an API. That's how people go to like IMDb websites and then update their data. Like, what's his name? Their name. Shabagom has got a script using Templater that goes to the IMDb website for a specific movie that they want to watch, and then it brings in the information. So he gets like the rating information, that sort of stuff. That's been doable for ages. It's just the API now, because of version 1, is more stable to use, so it's not going to change all the keys and stuff. But yeah, so they have a list of files. I was going to say database, but it's not. A list of files that has the ratings, the public ratings, the reviews, the descriptions, the authors, the publishers, all that sort of stuff for each movie that they want to watch. And because it goes out, they just search the IMDb pages inside of Obsidian, pushes enter, and brings the data in, just like you would with Zotero, with Kindle, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I mean, he's done that with movies. What about the videos for YouTube channels? I know that's what Thomas Frank's doing. I don't see the point of that because most of the analytics are in YouTube anyway. But you could do it if you wanted. And this gets me onto a point that I wanted to bring up. Inside of Notion, every task is a page, really. That's how it's treated. It's not really a task block. In Obsidian, it can just be a task block because of the queries. But what I realized is if I was to treat a page as a task, I would have exactly what Notion is.
Yeah.
Because a task in Notion is a page that has a tick box on it. What does DB folder let you do? Put a tick box on a page. It's false or true. So if you have that, it means every task inside of Notion is exactly the same as a task inside of Obsidian. Then where's your subtasks inside of Notion? Oh, you have to make a page inside of a page and relate it to itself, and it's a pain in the bum. Or you just make a task in the page, but then it's not referenced anywhere. Well, what about Obsidian? Oh, just use a task, and then you can use a task query. What about sub-tasks? Just indent a task.
Yum. So you could, and that I think is.
Wait, pause. And with the full calendar plugin, right? The full calendar plugin uses files. So if you take that taxonomy, philosophy, methodology, whatever you want to use, as a file is a task or is an event, you have full time blocking availability with the full calendar. You have the week, you have the month, you have the day, you have the list, and each event file is there. So you can have a time start, a time end, which Notion just doesn't have at all in it anyway. And you have that in Obsidian. The full calendar plugin, the video went out last week if you haven't seen it. That was for the audience, John. And
I didn't watch all your videos.
And and if you were to treat them like that, it means that everything you can do in Notion, you can do in Obsidian. And what is exciting to me, as some people commented in the video, is, well, Obsidian has an API. If you can get a Google Calendar to trigger a page to create a file inside of Obsidian, that can then be viewed on the full calendar. I don't know how it would work the other way around, but I mean, Notion's API with Google Calendar isn't great either. I'm still using Morgan, and I will probably still stick with Morgan because you have tasks and stuff, but the developer of the full calendar plugin is looking to put tasks in the full calendar plugin.
I love it.
Yep. It's just what I don't get about the public. Oh, Tana this, Tana that. Actually, there was a note that I put in our event because I was experimenting with it. Let me go to my calendar. Let me go to today because I was like looking at something. So I have an event. It's a file. And when I click on it, because it says podcast, it's a recurring Notion. It's a recurring note inside the calendar. So every Saturday. And when I open the note, I have, funny enough, written words for this podcast episode. And I have Tana.
Hold on, is that actually in Obsidian? Just to clarify.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's just a file inside the full calendar plugin that's called podcast that recurs because of the full calendar plugin. So at the top of the page, I'll read it out. I could screen share, but people are going to listen anyway. At the top of the page, I've got title, podcast, all day, false, because it's not an all day event. Start time, 10, because that's when we start recording. End time, 12, because that's roughly when we stop. Type, recurring. And then days of the week, and it's got S because it's Saturday. I think it's a small S for Sunday. And then start recur because it can start recurring on different days. And then you can have an end recurrence as well if you want. So you can say it stops after 4 weeks. So that's all the property information inside of the Obsidian page. YAML metadata. That's automatically put in when you create the thing in the full calendar. Then below the YAML is where I write the notes. I have a task in there, an actual task in there. So it appears in my task query. That's podcast, high priority, recurring every week, and then the due date. And then once I've ticked off the task for today, it will recur next week. That's the task plugin. And then above that, I have words that just says Tana and then databases for cognition, because that was a note from Twitter somewhere. I don't remember. That's why I wrote it down. You said about
it. Oh, we go there, are we?
Well.
Oh, it hurt reading that. It was just like, no, just no. Another one that got me, I asked the delicious question, why do we organize? And I got sent a link to, and I was asking, it's like to entropy was one of them, which is like, yeah, but that exists no matter what we do, so why? So still, why?
Did you take that from me, or did you know that beforehand?
No, I took that from you.
Okay.
Which is why I tagged you, because I'm like, I'm not deep enough to know, so I'm just going to be like, correct me. But I had an idea that it was something like that, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I wanted to be clear before I made a statement, because too much of Twitter is all about just throwing shit at a wall. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that what I say is right, or right isn't the right word. Has the,
evidence
to support it, or is clear that it is my personal opinion.
A logical rationale.
Thank you. Look at that. See, posh words, fancy boy. I'm just going to start calling you fancy boy now.
That's what I was called at school because I have a posh accent. No, I just pronounce all of my T's. I don't drop any letters.
Oh, it does my head in. My kids actually do it on purpose.
I did it. I did it as well. Like with my parents, whenever they were at the table and they were getting angry, I would just drop some letters. They would get more angry. Don't speak like scum. Okay, sorry.
Oh, I love that. Don't speak like scum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was talking about, like, why do we organize? Because I was intrigued, because I'd never really asked that question before. And you and I had a conversation afterwards. And that was great. And then it was really interesting because someone said that we organize to make sense of what we wish we could handle and understand. And I'm like, okay, but how do we define that? I literally went, well, how do we define what we can handle and can't? And doesn't that change? Like, that is so, there's not enough there. And then I was told to go look at a framework. And I'm like, how does this framework help me?
What was
I
it?
got
Don't tell me it
told
was
I got
power.
told politely to Google it, and I'm like, yeah, I can Google it, but I'm missing context. There's no context here. I don't get context from Googling. I want your context, and I want to know. And I asked them. I was literally like, yeah, I know that. That assumes the seeker wants a framework. I literally put that assumes the seeker. I don't want a framework. I have 30 of them in my head. I don't need another one. Why? I asked you how, and like, oh, look at a framework. Why? That's not actually helping. You can spout out frameworks till you're blue in the face. And I'm currently doing something right now, like where I'm building a framework as such. I'm not sure whether, and you've heard what I've spoken about, is it a framework or is it more of a methodology? Because I see it more as a methodology, like a kind of overarching philosophy.
They're all very synonymous. Getting in between the weeds of what's a taxonomy, a methodology, a framework, it's basically semantics. When you're in academia, there is a difference. When you're in the general public, people don't know what the meaning of the words actually are, so you could interchange them and they'd mean the same thing.
Like, to me, I see it as kind of more of a philosophy. It's like, this is my philosophy for task management. That's all it is. It's not the right way, the wrong way. It's not a thing to follow verbatim, because it doesn't work like that. It's not that simple, but it gives you something to run from, which is what I use.
It's a philosophy of practice.
Yeah, it is. It is exactly, that was the phrase I was looking for, which my brain would not find quick enough.
Pop.
It is a philosophy of practice, and that's all it is.
It's a pop.
But I am not going to just shove that in your face and go figure it out. It's like, here are examples. Here are actual this is how it works. Don't just tell me to go look it up. That's not enough. That is so surface level, top of the line, that I'm just like, well, that's useless to me. You might have spouted gobbledygook. Yeah, it's shallow. You might have spouted gobbledygook, and I think they actually listen to our podcast. Hi, but it's not enough. When I ask questions, I don't want to just be sent somewhere else. And there is a time to just do general research. And I did look it up. I did look up the framework, and I'm like, okay, great, but that's not what I asked.
I was going to say, I think that's the problem with a lot of people trying to answer questions, especially through social media anyway, is they don't grapple with the question before giving an answer, which is something that I do. Whenever I give an answer to something, I try and grapple with it a little bit so I understand different perspectives that they could be coming from, because a lot of the time when people tweet something, there's no tonality, because obviously it's words, which means there's no emphasis on certain elements. So you could be emphasizing a different part of the sentence than someone else. So I try and grapple with what it is that they've said to grasp how I interpret the question. And when you ask questions that require a lot of depth, if the person doesn't have deep understanding of the topic to start with, their interpretations are going to be drastically different, which often leads to shallow answers. And for me, it's just a pain in the bum, which is why I stopped asking questions like that on Twitter, because what I found is a lot of people that are either following me or in the niche that try to give answers to those questions are too shallow. This is going to sound harsh, but it's too shallow for my level of understanding. They give me an answer and I'm like, yeah, I figured that out 5 years ago. We're like way beyond that now. And I end up having to explain the question to the person. This is what I ended up doing for months. I was explaining my question to different people, and I would always end with them saying, I don't know that much about this thing. And I was like, oh, what's the point of you answering my question then? And it's not me trying to be harsh. It's just me being realistic in that my depth of understanding in certain topics is beyond the level of understanding other people can answer, which is why I've started this collaborative sync vault with people that are academics, because they can grapple with some of the questions that I'm... True.
Come on. Look, I am not an academic. Internet academic, just about.
but you can grasp some of the questions, and maybe you can't give answers or give solutions or potential directions to follow with research, but you can still ask questions that probe the original. You can still create claims or propositions around the question, which a lot of people don't seem to be able to comprehend. Like, just because I've asked a question, it doesn't mean there's an answer. It means that there's other questions that we need to answer before we get to the original answer.
And that is the thing that I'm more interested in now. And I knew I wasn't going to get an answer with the questions that I'm asking. That was the darn point. I just want to try and raise the level of the answer. Like, just because the PKM space is so... It's all about taxonomies and apps and tools, and it's frustrating because we're talking about the wrong things, in my opinion. Like, we're talking about the stuff that nobody cares about, like the stuff around how do you organize. That came because I'm writing a workshop. I've been writing a workshop on that for people who are not in the PKM space. And I thought, oh, people in the personal knowledge management space would probably have some ideas about why we organized. And what I got was not much. Well, from everybody but Danny. Danny's reply was, how long you got? I've got hours. And I think that was the fastest 30 minutes I've had in a while, because I had a call immediately after you. And I was like, oh, shit, I've barely scratched the surface with you. And I have so many more questions. But I haven't got any more time. And now I see what you do all day.
Yep. It's for reference, people. I was in Discord, so it was a very quick. We just jumped on into the voice chat and spoke about it. So it wasn't a case of we need to set cameras up or we need to get on a Zoom call. It was literally just go into Discord, and you can do that on your phone, which is why I love the Discord server. So if anyone else wants to, just go to the Extended Brain Discord server and mention me, and I'd be happy to discuss it. Just like as a heads up, that's what I want the server to be about: discussing these topics in a way that isn't Twitter.
Yeah, because I think that's just so much more. What I wanted from that was, one, to open up the conversation, and two, see where people actually are. Because if I understand where people are, I can, like, for me, my interest is not to do what you do as such. My interest is to translate what you do into English.
Plain language.
Into plain language that people can use to actually help them. Because isn't that kind of the damn point of all these things that we do? Isn't that the damn point of systems? Isn't that the damn point of processes and organizations? But no, everyone's got so carried away with this, like, one, making a ton of money, and hands up, I'm a coach. That's what I do to earn money. And that's fine. But another thing is, like, they're selling templates, and I am still trying to figure out whether templates actually are valuable unless they're produced in the way that you do them. But the work required is way too much, which is why people charge a lot of money, which is a whole other discussion. But it's
context.
Yeah, there is just
so I'm going to read out my pinned tweet because I like my pinned tweet. That's why I pinned it. But I think it relates to this discussion quite well. So it says, yes, I know. I'm boosting myself. I need to boost my ego every once in a while. Blue Danny throws down Orange Danny. So I need to boost myself. PKM is often overcomplicated. TFT can be bloated with features. BASB is a journey, not a destination. And then I've got another line that says, most people really don't need to go beyond simple text editing and linking. And then there's a link to Obsidian, and then my Obsidian tutorial video. This is an hour. People moaned, oh, it's an hour. Yeah, but there's like 4 hours worth of content in an hour. And I think those three statements right at the top, if you're not in the space, you wouldn't know what PKM, TFT, or BASB means. And if you know what those three mean and you disagree with those statements, I don't think you're in enough.
Yeah. I let's go TFT, because that was the question I asked earlier,
Yeah.
and we were like, "That's a topic."
Yes.
What actually are tools for thought? Because when you look at it and you look at the words and you take the words at face value, my phone is a tool for thought. Everything I do, Twitter, as I said in my tweet, Twitter is a tool for thought. And then if people are saying that tools for thought aren't for everybody, I'm just like, screw you. I have a visceral reaction to that because that's nonsense. That to me is utter crap, because tools for thought are notebooks, are, hey, even a Kindle, for crying out loud, is a tool for thought because you can highlight and create, like, your fingers, thank you, yeah, gesturing like I'm doing right now for audio of you, like that's a tool for thought. Everything we do, and that, but I've been reading the paper, can you tell? Like, it bugs me that we are, it's yeah, I'm gonna say it, hot take, it's elitist. It's like, no, people aren't allowed to use Obsidian because they're not smart enough. Like, that no one, I don't know whether anyone's actually saying that, and if they are, they're not on my feed. But like, no, it's a freaking Google Doc with a lot more power.
So these are the implicit messages people send out through the content and the discussions that they have. I mean, a perfect example is when I say Obsidian for beginners, I don't say no coders. And this is one of the marketing things that Nicole's done very well. She said no code, what was it? The video is like no code cheat sheet or something. And what that message implicitly says is Obsidian is for coders. But it's not. And that's one of those things that Obsidian creators and people that use Obsidian, they're not saying, oh, you can't do this because you can't code, or you don't know how to do this because you can't do that, or you need to learn these things. That's not what they're saying. But by saying you need to use data view, you're implicitly saying if you don't understand the queries of data view, then Obsidian's not that useful. And that's what people will hear. People will hear, oh, I don't know how to use data view queries, Obsidian's not for me. Or I don't know what Markdown is, Obsidian's not for me. No, that's not right, but that's the implicit message people are sending through the conversations they're having. And I think that's the same with a lot of the other TFT spaces, is that TFT is for these types of people. Well, if it's for them, that implicitly means it's not for those that don't identify, using that word, identify with that categorization. My question then being, why are you categorizing it? Comes all like this is the same discussion as we have with neurodivergence as TFT. What does the categorization mean, and what does it do to the other people that don't identify with that category? I'm not a knowledge worker, so I don't need a TFT. Bullshit. Everyone needs a TFT.
And you already have one.
Yes, because we all use it. Extended cognition, embodied cognition, enacted cognition, embedded cognition, they all exist.
It is so, and
wait, pause for a sec. Even people in cognitive psychology and neuroscience that fundamentally believe that the brain is a machine believe to some extent that the 4E's exist. So even the people that are adamant that the philosophy of extended cognition is too far-fetched, they still believe that we use our fingers to count. So TFT is not for certain people, it's for everyone. It's the degree at which TFT is used and the boundaries, the attractors you've put on the constraint. Sorry.
And it's frustrating because in the business world, in the business space, which is where I stay, nobody comes in. And I've been saying this for ages. Like, back in Notion, nobody comes in because everybody tries to make it complicated. People, whenever I literally say, oh, Notion would be a good fit for you, but don't go on YouTube, because if you go on YouTube, you will think it's not for you. Same with Obsidian. You go on YouTube, you see all these wonderfully, beautifully complicated things, which are beautiful and wonderful and fun, and I love every second of it. But it's so frustrating.
So this is something that I'm tackling at the moment with myself, with the course. So the course, the Extended Brain course at the moment, is based on lots of different tools, lots of different apps, and focuses on so many different areas. It's an environment for people to learn it. That's the whole point of the course. But what I realized is when you have a new Obsidian user that hasn't watched my videos, how the F do they get started? Most of the people that have got the course already are familiar with Obsidian. They're familiar with some of the tools and they can navigate their way around. But how in the world does a new user onboard themselves to Obsidian? And I was having a look around, and I was playing devil's advocate. I was like, okay, I'm a beginner. How do I get used to Obsidian? And no, the Obsidian Made Simple course, I've had a look at the module outline. I haven't actually taken it. Had a look at the module outline. And it basically does what my course did. It goes over the feature set, goes over the settings, and goes over some PKM frameworks. Well, great, but how? Like, what is the onboarding process? Telling me the settings doesn't help me. And then when I look at linking your thinking, well, if you're not a knowledge worker or you don't want to talk about abstract conceptual topics about cognition, how does that help? And I've had people feedback from linking your thinking. Obviously, a lot of it is positive, but some of them saying, I'm in business and I don't quite know how linking your thinking works for me because I don't do this abstract thinking all the time. I'm doing tasks. my main tool for thought is for tasks management, for ideas of things I need to do at work or things I need to do at home. Like I don't need to talk about extended cognition in my notes. I just want to be like, hey, oh yeah, I need to feed the dog. I need to write that down somewhere. The everyday stuff. And what I came to, the conclusion I came to was there isn't, from what I found and from what I know about, there isn't a good onboarding course for Obsidian for people that aren't in the PKM space, because the people making the courses are in the PKM space.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, who's doing that for another tool? And August Bradley and Marie Paulin do that for Notion.
Yeah.
Marie's course, yes, covers lots of advanced topics, but is directed as an onboarding course to Notion that is continuous. It's a continual journey. And as much as I think August, I think, overcomplicates a lot of elements of systems, he talks about it and discusses it, and he onboards people to the tool using things that can be applied in real life. So it's a way for people to just use it. And that's exactly where I want my course to go.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this out loud to make it so that I actually need to do it. But having people download an Obsidian zip folder for someone that hasn't used Obsidian and doesn't understand zip folders, that's a barrier. And I knew it was a barrier when I did it. But I was saying to myself, okay, how can I do this like Notion, where you just sign in? Oh, wait, Obsidian Publish.
Yeah. So
I have Obsidian Publish. So all they need to do is log on, and then they get all the information they need. So for me, it's trying to reduce the barriers for brand new users. And instead of saying, hey, here's all the settings and all the features, because there are thousands, here's how you make a journal page. Here's how you make a habit tracker. Here's how you add quick tasks to your notes. Like the actual actions the actual questions people want to find answers to, and put that in the course instead, whilst including all the settings and features and stuff in it. So it's more of an onboarding course rather than a this is what Obsidian can do course. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've been discussing around me doing a similar thing, but from a business context, because that is actually how I use Obsidian primarily these days. It is as a task management, capture. Well, literally, it's capturing, organizing, and doing. That's literally all I do right now in Obsidian. I don't really do research in Obsidian at the moment because that's not my priority. But what I like is the fact that I can when I want to bring in book stuff. When I'm writing something, I can easily find resources and stuff that I can use. But primarily it is for capturing what I need to do, organizing what I need to do, and then doing the darn thing. Because
I was going to say, and that right there, I'm exactly the same. Even right now, yes, I do research. Yes, I read lots of stuff compared to other people. But at the moment, when you actually look at my daily notes, you'll notice that there's almost no source notes in my daily note. And that's where I put them, because I am working. And when I say working, I'm recording videos, I'm scripting videos, I'm editing videos, I'm uploading videos, I'm editing parts of the course. That I am constantly working. And all of that's in Obsidian. And I'm not doing backlinking or linking. I guess you could argue I'm backlinking because I'm making a page. But I'm not trying to backlink. I'm not using block references. I'm not using any advanced features in Obsidian.
No.
I tell you what buttons I push. Alt T to add a task, type the task, and then enter. That's literally all I do in Obsidian. It's literally it. And when I'm on my phone, I push on the page, and then the toolbar's at the bottom. I push the tick button, and then I type it, and then I push whatever priority it is, and it goes to my. That is like 80% of my Obsidian use. I don't do code. I don't make plugins all the time. That's what people think I do. But no, it's task project management. You need to have a setup that works for you in Obsidian, yes. But I mean, I don't want to self-plug, but the course covers that. Even now, it already covers that. And most videos on YouTube have elements of that. I mean, my task management video on YouTube shows exactly how the extended brain template works. So you could, if you understood Obsidian to a small degree, just copy it without PyCharm.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy stuff. You just copy it. And tasks, you don't need any of the other plugins. Just tasks does it.
And it's super simple, and it just works, and it just gets out of your way, and you don't have to think about things.
Exactly.
Which is what I think I love about Obsidian, is that now that I'm in Obsidian, I get it. I don't have to think anymore. And there are tweaks that I'm going to keep making, but they are tiny. They're like visual primarily at the moment, because I do like visual stuff, and I'm slowly adapting. As I keep working, I'm figuring more stuff out that I want to actually do. So I've added types into my YAML for the sources, because I want to see what I'm actually bringing in, because I'm intrigued at the quality. Now, I am making assumptions that a book is better than an article, but an academic paper is way better than anything. And so there is those there, but I want to see where my consumption habits are. I don't have a dashboard for that because I don't really need one right now, but it's happening in the background. And that, whereas with Notion, I had to make a dashboard. I had to make this. I had to do something with it to make it valuable for me. But now I don't. And I literally, the funny thing is, I'm like, Obsidian is so easy to use. I forgot I could create templates to make it slightly easier. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I could just put this in the YAML and not have to think about it ever. I'm like, all right, I'll go do that now. Boop, 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 done. But the fact that I actually didn't mind being inconvenienced, quote unquote, by having to change a bit of text to change between the different types. But I have a template now, so I can just template tab, boop, done, yay.
And that's the thing that confuses me when people say Obsidian is confusing. When you go into Notion, if you want to change something, you need to know the right property of the database to get the information you want. Do you want a multi-select? Do you want to select? Do you want a status property that's now there? Do you want a progress bar? Do you want a formula? What do you want? In Obsidian, it's text. It's all text. If you want it to look like something else, use DB folder, and then you can change the formatting, blah, blah, blah. But it's all text. So if you want to change something, change the words. You don't have to click a button. You don't have to remember what property does what. You don't have to remember what things can't work in what ways, like what date format you need, what relative that. And when you're using formulas or rollups, the rollup doesn't work because it's in the wrong date format or it adds the wrong dates. No, that's not a thing in Obsidian. It's just type the word or number that you want. So I see that as easier.
I think the reason why I have a good kind of assumption, hypothesis. It is purely because how complicated everybody makes it on YouTube.
I don't know whether it's everyone makes it complicated on YouTube. I think it's people, when they're watching it, don't see a relatable example. Like, as much as Nicole's videos are great, the examples she uses are from her life, which is D&D. If you're not a D&D player, it's hard to grasp how it's useful. Like when
And
I
as
saw
a D&D, and actually, as a D&D player who knows enough about Obsidian to be dangerous, even I'm like, yeah, but how would I do this for me? Even
yeah,
I am actually thinking, how would I do this for me? Like, what would I do anything? Would I just use what she? I don't know. And so
exactly.
there's no like that is a lack. That is a severe lack. And I watched the 2.5 hour, 3 hour video. I'm kind of midway through that, talking about Obsidian. It was an Obsidian community talk about D&D.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I
I've seen
saw the
that.
plugins and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, I can see how I use that in this instance, or maybe that instance. I like the roller because that's kind of cool because you can bring in quotes randomly. And I'm like, oh, that's a way to bring in quotes. That's cool. Like, but outside of that, like, would I implement any of it? The only thing that I actually got was the buttons because I'm just like, oh, my entire process for managing tasks in Obsidian, I can buttonify that, and it would be really easy for people to use because people like the use like something that I've learned from working with business people. They like to click. Don't know why. I don't get why, but shortcuts are still not a mainstay.
Tell me about it.
It makes me cry because shortcuts
People
are
are
so
like,
much
oh,
nicer.
where's my buttons? Where's the menu? You don't need a menu. Yeah, but I want to see it. You,
Well, I'm sure there's a plugin.
I mean, I understand seeing it and stuff, but oh, yeah. Yeah, what I was thinking about, well, about 20 minutes ago, is when when I was thinking about Obsidian and I was thinking about Notion and I compare them, the Obsidian videos out there are help videos. They're tutorial videos. And Notion's got a lot of them. What videos do well in Notion is a Notion tour. How I use Notion to insert thing, life, business, system, thing. How I use Notion to manage my business, to manage my YouTube channel, to my entire operating system in Notion. I can't think of any of those sort of videos for Obsidian. Like, yeah, I just can't think of any. Like, all the videos about Obsidian are academic writing or how-to videos about using plugins, which are obviously what I'm making. And the videos Nicole makes are D&D related, which is understandable because that's her thing, and plugins that she uses. So Excalidraw, Excalibrain. I mean, she uses short form and Readwise. I don't use either of them because Readwise is just a pain in the bum, and short form just oversimplifies things for me. And it's just annoying. Also doesn't cover PDFs, so yeah, that's annoying as well. So the videos she's making don't target me in any way. The only reason I watch the videos is because it's Obsidian, and I kind of like fingers crossed she tells me something I don't know. It hasn't happened yet, but it will happen eventually because she's into Obsidian. So my question then becomes, okay, does the marketing of Obsidian need to be similar to Notion in that,
Yes.
hey, okay, never mind.
Yes. That is the only thing. From the business perspective, it is just, and I think I actually tweeted this, it is just marketing. That is it. That is all Obsidian needs to do to reach mass.
Well, Obsidian's the same as Notion. Obsidian themselves don't do any of that. They rely on their users to do that. But I think the users of Obsidian they're not that way inclined.
Oh no, they do. They do market themselves.
Which Obsidian do, yeah, but like not
No,
on.
Notion, I mean.
Oh, no, yeah, they do now. Like to start with, Notion with this thing in the background, and then YouTubers decided, hey, this is really cool. Let's talk about it. And then they obviously do all the marketing stuff because brands, marketing, money. But Obsidian are at the start that Notion were at. I joined Obsidian earlier than I joined Notion in their relative journeys, and it's interesting to see. But I think because the Obsidian user base are so codey, programmer, I'd say they're more mature as well than the start of Notion. I don't think those sorts of people are going to be the ones doing like, hey, this is how I use Obsidian to manage my student, whatever. It's not there. That's not the users. I mean, look at me. I'm 26 now, as of 2 days ago. What's the date today? Yeah, two days ago. Yeah, I'm 26 now. I graduated over almost 3 years ago now. So I'm not a student. I could still relate to the student population and say, hey, this is how I'm managing blah, 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 because I know exactly what's going on. My sister's still at uni as well, and I've helped her out multiple times, and she uses Obsidian for all of her studies. But I'm not in that demographic. I'm slightly beyond that. So, I mean, I guess I could relate to mature students. I don't know, but that's what I mean. Like, Obsidian needs I'd probably say the YouTube community to sort of recognize it as an app, because still at the moment, like, Remnote is still higher than Obsidian. And sorry, Remnote users, it's crap. Like, it's nasty. Yes, the flashcards are nice, but who needs flashcards? Sorry.
But
I can't even do it with a straight face. But active recall. Oh.
Active
recall. Space repetition. Yeah. Oh. Throw your space repetition in the bin. Like, God, just practice. Active recall. Throw it out the window. Retrieval. Yeah.
You good now?
Oh, I've written a whole article on that, so in my notes.
I love how it's in your notes.
Well, the plan is to turn my notes into the Obsidian Sync Vault, so it becomes more of a published notes. This is actually a question I was going to ask you after, but I'll ask you this now. With my notes, I know you read through my notes sometimes, like on the odd occasion.
Now, let's be real. I read it all the time. Every time I have a question before I can. The only time I'll come and ask you something is if I can't find it in your notes.
Yeah, so when you're looking around my notes, do you look at my article notes, my working notes, or do you look at my source notes?
Both.
Interesting. So what is it about the source notes that you read?
Scroll down to the bottom, references press.
No, wait. The references, are they the long footnote references?
It varies depending on which note I'm looking at.
Because the reason I ask is, obviously at the moment I have source notes and working notes, and when I want to put it into an article, most Wikipedia type articles or super memo or anything like that, they have an article and then have a footnote to a link, and the link is just a link to wherever it was. For me, because of Obsidian, it links to my actual notes on the source.
Honestly, I don't. I'm just going to look at your notes because I don't actually look to see whether it's a source or not. I'm just like, type, read.
If it's got a URL at the top of the page, then it's a source because it's linked to an article, a blog, a video, or something. Yeah, you're looking around me notes, but the reason I ask is because the sources are what bulks out most of my vault. I mean, if I go into my vault now, I'm pretty sure I have like maybe 80. I can go into my tags. Yeah, I have. Oh no, they're not tags. I thought they were tags. Oh, they are tags. I just wasn't looking at the right place. I have 88 working notes, and then I have 2,000.
I do look a lot at your working notes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then I have 2,900 source notes, which all link to the working notes. And the working notes, I'm going to reword these for clarity. Working notes are articles. I'm rebranding it to articles because I think that's more synonymous with the other words that we use. So I have articles and sources. So I'd say I'm writing 88 articles and I have 2,906 sources.
I like that redefinition.
They're still working notes, but I think articles are better. They're like evolving articles. So yeah, back to my question. Do you read my sources or is it mainly the articles?
It depends on what I'm looking for. It depends on what it does depend what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for an overarching, like, I just want to know the answer. I want to know something. I often look at your articles. I often look at them and go, okay, cool, these are things. And then often I'm attracted by the source notes to go deeper because I see that your working notes are kind of part of the story, but not all of the story, even though they're incredibly detailed.
Yeah, which ones do you go to most? Because obviously all of the notes that are inside the sources are also in the working notes. It's just most of the time they're in the big old scroll to do at the bottom of the page.
Oh yeah, there's some scroll to dos. it genuinely, it's variable depending on which one. So I opened ecological psychology, I think yesterday, and I was looking through that. So a little bit of that. It varies. There isn't really a one way of working. If I want to find original sources just so I can read them to understand, like I see what you write, like your articles as kind of a summary of all of the
It's condensed.
Yeah, it's a condensed summary. And for me, I don't just want a condensed summary sometimes. If I don't have time, then I will just grab the condensed summary and go, okay, cool. Where is my brain going on this? Like, what is my perspective? But I always want a little bit more. So I find the sources and go play with the sources too and kind of use both for me. But I think I'm a little bit.
So I guess as a general like yes or no question, if I was to stop putting the source notes there and just have the link instead, would you be annoyed?
Yes.
Okay. Damn it.
Sorry, but yes, I would find that annoying. And there are sometimes where you have sources and I can't find the damn sources anymore. And I'm like,
can't find the sources.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have, some sources are not published or they don't exist anymore. What was it I was looking at?
Oh, yeah, because I'm going to have links where I've deleted the pages, probably because the page was empty. Any page that was empty, I went through, like when I was doing my declutter, I deleted a load of empty pages and I deleted a load of blog pages as well. That was just me rambling around random rubbish that was in my Obsidian.
Yeah, I think the one that I was looking at because I was very intrigued was around is it productivity? Because I was trying to find stuff around organizing and organization because I was kind of intrigued. I mean, your productivity.
Did you type in organizing into the search?
Yes.
Did it come up with the headings?
Yes.
Because it should have taken you to the note-taking note, I think. I think it's called note-taking.
It didn't. It took me nowhere.
I'm going to have a very quick search of my note-taking note. Maybe I...
Oh, you used the incorrect spelling. That's why it was there.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say, I thought incorrect. Oh, because I've used the Z.
S. Yeah, it's S for UK. That's why I
UK. I'm going to keep it as Z then, because, yeah. Most people that read my notes are American.
I don't care. I'm stubborn and still use UK spellings.
Yes, yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, yeah, so it was there. Yeah, that's what I thought. When you said organized and you couldn't find stuff, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I got a section on that. Yeah, it's got power in there, and yeah, pillars, pipelines, and vaults. Johnny Decimal got some real good buzzwords in there. Yeah, okay.
Puke.
Right, I'll keep the source notes in there then.
Please.
Yeah.
I like having the sources because it gives the context, and my suspicion is nobody else will probably give a shit. Let us know, audience. Like, let us know. But I do because I want more than just your distilled summary.
Oh, that was really impressive. I forgot about the hotkey that I put into I put a hotkey on Streamlabs, which is where I'm recording this episode, and it's Control O. So when I go to my quick switcher, it automatically brings up my right webcam. So when I'm in Obsidian, it brings it up. Because I just done the quick switch, it changed it. So I went back to the Zoom thingy. But we're back now. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I have one other question that I want to ask you about Discord, which we'll add this at the end because why not? When it comes to Zoom calls, like Zoom webinar calls and things, what are your thoughts about doing it on Discord?
I have no thoughts. I think it's quite a nice idea to have it all in one place.
That's what I thought, because obviously you can schedule the event and then you get all the benefits of Discord inside your webinar thing. live session. Yeah.
It depends on how many people are used to Discord as well.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
But I think most of Obsidian users are used to it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like beginners. The reason I ask is I see a lot of people using Circle. They use Circle as their community, and then they use Zoom as their webinars. And
Circle have live streams.
what do you mean by live streams? As in, like,
you can live stream directly inside of Circle.
Yeah. Well, obviously, so can Discord. The question I have is, because I know Discord is more flexible than Circle, where as soon as you start adding bots and commands and things, I don't know Circle as well, but I'm pretty okay. Educate me.
You have Zapier, so you have integrations that can work like a bot.
Okay, so I'm going to rattle off some questions here now then. With Obsidian, with Discord, obviously you have the discussions forum that you can search for questions. Can you do that in Circle?
Yes.
So you can search for a question, yes?
Yes.
In a discussion forum. Can you add tags to those discussions to say completed, not completed, answered, not answered, and then tag certain posts, essentially?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
You have CSS functionality and features.
No, as I mean, like when a user posts a question and they had a post, can they add tags to the post? So people searching for it can find it, like plugin, CSS, appearance, data.
You'd have spaces, I think. I don't see why not, and I'm not as versed in it now than I was.
Right.
But I think you could.
Okay, I know you can in Discord. Can you have auto responses inside of Circle? So when someone says, I'm new, and then a bot say, hey, go to this channel, or here's some information about it.
Via Zapier, yeah.
Via Zapier, okay. Wait, so all of the auto responses, auto roles that obviously the Carl Disworld bot does, you'd need Zapier for that inside of Circle. That's a lot of money.
It is, to be fair. I don't know whether they have other. Do they have a?
I mean, all the stuff I'm doing in Discord is obviously free, and I don't use Zapier for any of it. It's just because I hear a lot of people say that Circle, they either lose questions, struggle to find questions, or answers to questions, and like a lot of the user issues is that I see is they don't like the experience in it.
You have an open API, so you don't have to use Zapier. You could use Postman or whatever it's called. Can't remember what it's called now. Pipe Dream.
Yeah, Pipe Dream.
So you could use that. They have a public API. I just searched it up and now I'm just like, ooh, yummy. So you can make comments. You can show comments. You can create comments. So all of the stuff that you would want to do, you could do.
Circle.
Yeah.
Okay. How much is Circle? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Is check. I have a different pricing structure. What would you be using it for?
Oh, community.
Would you want to do live streaming directly?
Yes, because Discord does that. Basically, I want to do what I do in Discord in Circle.
$100 a month.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'll stick to Discord.
I thought so. That's why I went. No. Yeah, because
why do people go to Circle then? I was waiting for a quick answer. I thought there'd be one.
Because
loads of people are in Circle.
Yeah, and Discord's more Circle is deemed as more professional.
Well, it's literally just a case of marketing outlook. That's stupid.
I think so. And also for some people, Discord's too overwhelming because you've got like For some, it's too overwhelming and it looks unprofessional. And for certain types, I don't have good reasons, to be quite honest.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're fishing.
I am.
You're throwing it in deep.
I am intrigued to understand why people use Circle versus something like Discord.
Yeah,
I am
don't know.
actually genuinely intrigued because I don't think I know either.
But this is why, like, I've gone, obviously with the course, I've gone around to see what other people are doing. They all use some sort of course platform, or like Obsidian, like Marie uses Notion, but the course platform they have to pay for. Then they use Zoom for all their webcam-y stuff. And I'm like, but you have to pay for an account. And if you've got lots of people, you have to pay a fair amount. Yes, I have Zoom. But I could do it in Discord. I haven't tried with a big Discord audience, but I know people have done Discord calls with hundreds of thousands of people. Like Mr. Beast did a call. Mr. Beast, the YouTuber, did a call inside of Discord, and he had like 130,000 people inside of a Discord voice chat. 130,000 free on Discord.
I think you have more control with Zoom than you do with Discord. I don't think you can mute everybody. I'm not entirely sure. I do not know.
Inside of Discord, in the stream chat, people have to ask to be able to say something because it's a stream, because it's just like a webinar presentation. And you can set it so that moderators can allow people, or anyone can be accepted. Obviously, you'd put a moderator if there's that many people, and then you can bring them into the voice. And if they want to be on camera, they can. Same as Zoom. And then there is a chat, because there's a chat in the voice channel and the stream channel for that conference. If they're in the server, they get the event notification.
Got to download the app.
Why?
Some people are like that.
Yeah, but why? Discord is also online. You can use your browser.
It's not as good.
No, it's not. But Circle's on the browser as well.
I don't know. I don't have a good. Yeah. I think it's honestly, it's quite likely just another app to download, which is the problem that people have with Circle anyway. Because I try to use Circle primarily when most of my audience are on Facebook.
Facebook.
So I have to use a Facebook. I hate Facebook groups. Absolutely abhor them. But they work.
Good word. Good word.
Welcome. I hate Facebook. I hate everything about it. But people are in there.
That's why I like all the communities, for whatever reason, are in Circle. And I just don't understand why people are paying so much to go into Circle. I just don't get it. Don't get it. Anyway, we'll end there, having moaned about some money stuff.